Hello, hello! Welcome back, everyone. Now, you guys all seem to really enjoy my Rarest 5 guns and Enlisted video, so I figured, why not do it again, but this time for tanks. Everyone's favorite tracked, high-explosive sling and steel monsters, and the rarest of them. Now, guys, we're going to be ranking these both on general availability, as well as how common it might be to see them in a match, so keep that in mind as we go through the list. Also, I'm probably going to be doing another one of these for planes, so go ahead and go into the comments below and comment what you think are the rarest planes in Enlisted. And while you're there, make sure to drop a like and a subscription so you can see when the plane video releases. Now guys, enough shilling and self-plugging, let's jump into it with our 5th rarest tank in Enlisted. First up on our list is the Panther A Berlin. Now this is really just a normal Panther A, but it's unique in that it was originally released exclusively for the Berlin campaign, when the Berlin campaign only had the Panther G in it, And it retains that little identifier of being from the quote-unquote Berlin campaign. When the campaigns were merged into what we have today, Modern Enlisted, this tank was completely removed from the game since there's a Panther A in the tech tree. And now it rests as an exclusive premium squad that almost certainly will never be re-released because, again, it's already in the tech tree. And that makes it pretty rare. However, since it is literally just a Panther A, and you guys probably see Panther A's all the time, and the only identifier of this is the fact that it says Berlin at the end, I decided that it's not really that rare to see something that is essentially the equivalent of this, and so I decided to put it down at number 5. Second on our list, we have the M13/40 Axis tank, and also we're going to mention its counterpart, the A13 Premium tank for the Allies. Now these were originally released alongside each other in the Tunisia campaign way back in the day, and to my knowledge they haven't ever been sold again. And it's not really surprising because they are more or less identical, though with some small changes to their tech tree counterparts. They also have some neat kind of skins on them, and ultimately, I think they have very slightly different stats. Like maybe the armor or the ammo counts are kind of different, but for the most part, they're identical to their tech tree counterparts. Now, the M13 is actually a surprisingly solid tank, and I haven't really used it in a very long time, but when I was getting the footage for this video, I realized that it's really strong. It's got a good gun on it that can take on most allied tech tree vehicles. And even when I ran into a Matilda, I felt like I wasn't going to win the fight, but I didn't feel like the Matilda had a solid advantage to be able to take me out as well. So honestly, it's a solid vehicle, and it dishes out a lot of high explosive damage. And its armor really isn't that bad either. And especially against early game and low BR allied vehicles, this thing for being BR1 is really solid. All in all, it's a great tank, and if the M13/40 ever pops back up in the shop, I definitely recommend you guys picking it up for some low BR action. Now we get to probably the weakest tank on this list, the Soviet Valentine. This is one of the several Lend-Lease vehicles that are available to the Soviets, but unlike the other vehicles, this one is pretty dog shit. The Valentine isn't particularly fast, it's not particularly well armored, and its gun isn't particularly good. Its best trait is that it reloads pretty quick, but when you can't really engage enemy tanks because you can't pin them, and you don't really do that well against infantry because you have as much HE as a hand grenade, that doesn't really matter. It's pretty rare to see this little goblin on the battlefield, not just because it hasn't been on sale for a very long time, but also just because it's a truly terrible vehicle, and it should probably be in BR1. The fact that the aforementioned M13 is BR1, but the Valentine is BR2 is pretty hilarious to me. I mean, this thing really shares a BR with the Crusader? I don't think so. Either way, the Valentine earns its spot at number 3. Now we're getting into the stuff that is rare because it just simply isn't available anymore. Starting off with the Panzer IV Armored. Now, if I remember correctly, this was a Berlin squad that was released years ago alongside, I think, a T-34 variant that also had some cope cages on it, though I could be misremembering. Regardless, the Panzer IV here is more or less just a normal Panzer IV, but with those cope cages added to the side to make you feel like maybe that Panzerfaust that's going to slap into the side isn't going to just instantly detonate your ammo rack, even though it is. For a time, it also had the benefit of being BR3 and being an upgrade over the standard Panzer IV-J, but now the Panzer IV-H is BR3, and so it kind of lost that advantage. Now, the kind of biggest use for the Panzer IV Armored is just flexing on people that you have a slightly less crappy Panzer IV-J, which, I don't know, you could just use the Panzer IV-H and be a lot better off. Now, before we get to the number 1 spot, I did have some honorable mentions that I wanted to give a shout out to. The Achilles Tank Destroyer is rare because of how unbelievably terrible it is, but it's a pretty recent squad that I think a lot of players have seen or at least saw in the shop, so I didn't want to include it. The Rhino Stuart is one of the oldest custom or unique vehicles in Enlisted, and was originally going to be on the list, but since it's available in the veteran boxes, I was convinced to remove it from this list. But I do love that little tank. And finally, the Soviet 76mm Sherman was also removed in favor of the Soviet Valentine that I mentioned before, even though I personally have a lot of love for the beautiful Soviet IMCHA. Now finally, at number 1, we have the Stalingrad vehicles. Now this is a set of 3 different vehicles, and they were all vehicles gifted to the owners of the Stalingrad Pass back when that was still a thing. Now, to make a long story short, the Stalingrad campaign was a unique campaign during Enlisted's unique campaign time, and had a buy-in where you essentially paid some cash up front and got some goodies as well as a permanent XP boost to the campaign. And then when the merge inevitably removed that campaign, Darkflow gave out some freebies to compensate the owners of the Stalingrad Access Pass. These vehicles included the T-34 STZ, the Panzer III in Stalingrad, and the Panzer IV-G, also in Stalingrad. Now, these all earned their spots as the most rare tanks in Enlisted, simply because they do not and will not ever be sold again. They don't exist anymore, at least not in the form that they do now, right? Since they were essentially compensation for the removal of the Stalingrad campaign, Darkflow almost certainly won't ever allow them to be sold. Though we might see some alternate versions of these vehicles, like a Panzer IV-G with a different skin on it, or a Panzer III in with a different skin, that kind of thing. We won't ever see these exact vehicles released in the way that they were originally in the Stalingrad Access Pass. So that's my list. What do you guys think? Is there some super rare secret tank that I'm totally missing out on? Comment it down below, as well as leave your ideas for the rarest planes in Enlisted for the next top rarest planes in Enlisted video that I'll be working on. Also, join our community Discord to be part of these conversations, because I had a long chat with many of our longtime Discord members about what this list should be, and the link for that is down in the description below. Without anything else though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.